to The Light Within, where we explore how to access the wisdom and intelligence from within us to increase our health and vitality from the inside out. My name is Afua from Renewed Spirit Life, and today my guest is Roxanne Danberg. Roxanne is a mother of 4, a birth doula, yoga teacher, and a high school math and science teacher. She believes that by connecting with the body's innate wisdom, you can strengthen the trust and relationship with the self. Roxanne is also a certified iREst meditation teacher. iREst is a form of yoga nidra developed for the modern world. So we're going to get into that. It is based on traditional teachings but delivers it in a trauma-sensitive and culturally sensitive way that is accessible to any person. Roxanne loves to bridge the gap between the science and art of embodiment, question things, try things out, and see what works for her. So welcome, Roxanne, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to say that you were one of the first people I met when I first came to Melfort, and Roxanne was so welcoming and supportive. Like, I needed a place to put on one of my workshops, and there was like no competitive vibe or anything. It was just like 100% like, come and you're so welcome. And I just thought that meant a lot to me. So thank you for that.
Thank
you. Now you have so many areas of expertise, but today you're going to talk to us about how you use iREst and yoga as a doula. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually pretty interested about this.
Oh, okay.
Can you tell us more? For starters, what is a doula in case?
Okay. A birth doula is a person who, basically the word doula means woman who serves. So a birth doula is a person who supports a birthing mother through the prenatal period, and then oftentimes, but not necessarily, attending the birth. So just being a support person during labor and birth, and then some support also in the postpartum period.
Okay, yeah. Well, I almost had a doula at my birth, but didn't work out. But yeah, it was a very beautiful experience to have some support beforehand. So how do you use iREst in yoga? And what is iREst?
Okay, I'll explain what iREst is. So iREst actually it's short for Integrative Restoration. And so like you said, it's based on traditional yoga nidra, which means yogic sleep. So it's a meditation practice. But iREst was developed by a psychologist, Dr. Richard Miller, who's also a yoga teacher for many years. And so he's a psychologist, so he had his practice, he had this yoga background, and he kind of bridged the two, creating a modern practice that is culturally sensitive. So there's no sort of religious undertones. It can be accessible for anybody. And he made it into kind of a protocol, like a 10-step protocol. So it's simply a lying down guided meditation.
And I think from what I know, like, I haven't done a lot of yoga nidra, but from what I hear is that it's very like you said, restorative is in the name, but like, so if you do a little bit of yoga nidra, it's like the equivalent of a lot of sleep.
Well, they say that, but there's actually no data to support that. Yeah, like, I know, I've heard that too. Like, they say, half hour of yoga nidra equals 4 hours of sleep. There's actually no data to support that. You might feel like that, like very rested and like renewed and restored. So you might feel like, oh wow, I just had a really long nap.
Yeah, and it depends on probably also how much you allow yourself to get into that space.
Entirely what it is. And so you can do guided practices where you're just lying down, and it goes through the 10 steps. So Koshas, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, in the yogic world, the koshas are like the energy bodies. So there's the physical body, the breath, the emotions and feelings, thoughts and beliefs, and then into pure joy, Ananda, and then just pure being. So you get into that like kind of really deep you're awake, but that's why it's called yogic sleep, because it's like you're asleep, your body is so rested, but your consciousness is very much awake.
Yes, you're making me want to do it.
I'll send you a recording.
Okay. So in your work as a doula, how do you use this and to help?
So I would do provide guided recordings for a client. So just really practically like that, just using the meditation for a way to relax. I've worked with women who have had birth trauma. So from a previous birth, so working through those traumatic experiences. So if I'm working specifically with a one-on-one client, I could do a very specific meditation with them, working through that traumatic practice or traumatic experience, practicing to get to a place of more confidence and ease. And just in general, with a first-time mom, it would be working around fears and beliefs about birth, because there's a lot of that in our mainstream society, fear about pain and just kind of these cultural beliefs that we have. So working through those. So
you can do all those. You're addressing that through this iREst practice.
Yes, through a meditative guided. Literally, they're just laying and listening, and I'm talking through these different levels and certain beliefs. And so it can be very personal. I often will say, what fears do you have? And if there's a specific fear, we can work through that specific one. And often it can just be very general as well.
Well, that's beautiful. And it makes sense, because when you're getting into that relaxed space, you're more in that subconscious mind. So you're able to address that. Maybe on the surface, I'm not feeling that afraid, but underneath, there's going to be these things that creep up, especially when the labor is happening, because I know from experience.
Yes. and what I just want to say, working with the dads as well, because they're often really strong, and I'll ask them, what, are you afraid of anything? Do you have any fears? It's no, I'm good. It's okay. But really, they do actually have some fear as well, because of the stories that we're told.
No kidding.
Movies and other birth stories. So I really try and help. When I work, it's not just with the mother, the birthing woman, it's with the couple. So that's maybe a little bit different than other doulas. I actually don't know, but I do a whole program on conscious relationship with it. So that's another thing I didn't even mention. Maybe another
I said she was a woman of many expertise.
Well, it's just I found that they it's kind of by accident. I did all these things, and then they just worked so
together.
Well. The outcomes were so good. So
okay, and then what about that yoga aspect with the?
Oh, just really just physically moving the body and helping with those aches and pains of pregnancy, and really thinking of the anatomy of the female body and how that helps in birth. So also changing those expectations of and I've only ever attended hospital births. I've never been at a home birth, but in a hospital often, it's lie down on your back and really managed, as opposed to using your intuition and what feels good in your body. And so with yoga, it's just different poses, physical poses, but then also the knowledge of the female body and what works best in birth.
So if you're more kind of familiar with your body and moving it before you're in the place of labor, then when you're actually in labor,
for sure,
you're more able to move the way
it feels good and what's going to just work the best for you. Yeah,
definitely.
In that moment, because when we come to that moment, it's our logical brain actually is not working and shouldn't be, because we're in a primal state, or should be in a primal state of birth.
Right. Yeah. So now, how did you come to how did you stumble upon, how do you use these practices?
So I started practicing yoga like many people do. Like thought, oh, that sounds cool and like might be a good workout. I'll go and try a class. Yeah. So that was when I was in university. I started practicing and just really liked the way I felt physically. And then a few years later, I moved north. So there was no yoga studios. There was no yoga teachers. And so I decided to take a teacher training. And so I did that and then started just kind of teaching. It was more for myself.
Yeah.
Started teaching classes. And then iREst, I really don't even, I still question that. I had one child by then. Mm-hmm. I was pregnant with my second, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. I just heard of it. I'd never practiced it, but I felt called to do it and to sign up for this training. Mm-hmm. And so I went. It all happened really fast. I felt, I can't explain it. It was like an intuitive calling.
Yep. Yeah, that's what happens a lot of the time.
I went to New York for my first training. I didn't actually know the trainings were offered all over North America, and there are trainings offered in Canada, but I didn't know that. So I thought I had to go. I went to New York, took my first, and then I completed the certification over the next 4 years. And so I was pregnant with my second child, and my first birth I didn't think it was traumatic, or, I thought it was fine. But then I discovered what a doula was, and I wanted to have a more, I don't want to say natural birth, because birth is a natural process, but just a more connected and spiritual experience, mm-hmm. I guess, mm-hmm. which I didn't even really know that at the time is what I wanted. So then iREst just kind of fell into place there with the relaxation, getting more in tune with my body, sensations, emotions, and beliefs around it. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of fell into place. And then I had what some people I think would describe as what I would describe now as an ecstatic birth. It was just like,
wow,
a really amazing experience. I had a doula, and it was just, and I thought at that point I thought, like, this is what birth can be. And that's not the story we're told or that we hear about. Usually it's like all about pain and difficulty. And so when I was pregnant with my third child, and I just decided I'm going to take this training to become a doula.
With every child,
there's another thing. And I just, again, it was like more for, I didn't know if I could ever attend a birth. Like, I just wanted to do it for myself. And so I also had a doula, though, present. Even though I had taken the training, I had my doula. Yep. And another really fantastic birth experience. Like, it was just, and all this time I was practicing yoga. Like, I taught yoga regularly then, mm-hmm. through all my pregnancies. And I do attribute that to, like, the physical aspect of it. Like, just having good births.
Yeah, the muscles being open and toned.
Yeah. And just, like, keeping my movement up right till the end.
Right.
But yeah, practicing iREst, I think helped just be relaxed. And, like, it sounds so simple and kind of not really revolutionary, but I don't know, But
I think that's the thing, is that, like, people, to become relaxed in this day and age is actually something we can't take for granted, mm-hmm. because it is hard. It is mm-hmm. hard to get that nervous system
down. I was just going to say to, like, tune into the nervous system and really exploring the thoughts and emotions around it, as opposed to just, like, not, like, ignoring them. And because I do feel like a lot of practices in our world, like, down-regulating the nervous system, just, like, ignore the emotions and beliefs and, like, just suppress them.
Right.
And so iREst is all about, like, feeling it through and allowing those thoughts, beliefs, emotions to come up, and then deliver the message that they need to.
Well, it kind of reminds me of this book. I've only started reading it, but it's called Birthing Within, I think it is. Do you know that book?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And but
is it Birthing from Within, or
maybe that's like what it
is?
Birthing from Within, and and it's very. It makes me wished I had read it before having my child, because, like you said, it's like there's all these fears, but it mentions in the book that sometimes you want to pretend that you don't have that fear, right, because you feel like if you acknowledge that fear, maybe that means it's gonna happen. You're gonna create that fear to happen, instead of if you can feel that fear, and then it's like, you kind of just,
and you can explore whether it's like a real, like a valid fear, right. And then like with the doula, when I work with a client, like we do create a birth plan. Like I feel like a lot of moms will say, like new moms, oh, I'm not going to have a birth plan because, anything can happen, which is true. You can't plan it. But working through those fears and then educating on, what can happen around that.
Yeah, what are your options?
Gaining the knowledge and what are the options, and like what might be, ideal. And then if that can't happen, what's the next? And so if we acknowledge those fears, then we can plan for it, basically. Whereas if you, like you said, just like not think about it.
Just not think about it. You're not doing anything to
prepare. Yeah. And then you come to that moment. And if you've ever been in labor, had a child, then you know that in that moment you're not really able to think.
Yeah, properly. It's too late.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah. And then we may not make the decision that we hoped we would make.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, I really love this. That's very interesting about how powerful that something as simple as relaxation can really transform your birth experience.
And fertility. I'm also a fertility doula. I haven't worked with any people like formally, but for infertility, basically I would do the same thing like when you're trying to conceive as when you're already pregnant, for like the nutrition and the practices. Right. And of course there can be medical reasons. I'm not saying like, oh, just relax, because a lot of people do get that. If they're having trouble trying to conceive, people will say, oh, just relax. And that's not always it.
Well, and the thing is, just saying just relax
doesn't
make
help.
A person relax.
No. And there can, of course, be medical reasons. Yeah. But a lot of it can be helped or like enhanced by these natural practices, lifestyle practices.
Oh no, that's very. I'm happy you mentioned about being a fertility doula too, because sometimes people feel like, oh, there's nothing that can happen. We all know stories of people who they've been trying, and then once they kind of give up, then maybe it might happen for them. But what if there was some kind of a holistic way to go about it as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, now, do you have a couple practical tips or anything that the people watching might be able to?
For sure,
can tune into this. We need some relaxation.
Yeah. So whether you are trying to conceive, you are pregnant, or you're past you've had your children and you're just like a mom now, or don't have any children, for anybody. So a really simple practice in iREst, it's the first step, it's just called body sensing, and it just almost seems too simple to do, but it's really profound, and literally anybody can do it. You can do it anywhere, anytime. So I like to teach people to do this in a quiet place, lying down first, and practice that way. And then you can, once you get good at that, or once you feel more comfortable, then you can do it just like anywhere when you're out and about. And so I can just explain it. If you're sitting, you could just sit and, be comfortable or lie down. And you can close your eyes if you want. And it is really just thinking about and feeling different parts of your body. So in a practice, I would take you we'd probably start in the face. And so I'll do kind of a fast pace, because this would I could spend up to 20 minutes just doing this. So you just feel your face, and there's really nothing to do. like there's no trying to relax or trying to change anything. It's just feeling what's present there. So tuning into your jaw, your mouth, and just notice what sensations are there. There might be tension. You might feel very relaxed. Just notice your nose, your eyes, and your forehead. Feel the crown of your head and the back of your head. And then we often will feel each part and then feel the entire head. So feel your face, your head, inside your head. And then we'll just stop there for now. Because
I could keep going.
Yeah,
just go through the whole body.
The whole body. And so different things like do split body relaxation, feeling the left and the right. So there's lots of different ways to do it. But for you at home, everybody can name parts of their body. Mm-hmm. So you just go through, and it's hard to try. It's hard to not try doing something, right? You want to try and relax. And so if we're feeling pain or tension, it's just acknowledging that.
Right. That just feeling what it is. And that's why it's sensing it.
Yeah, just sensing. And so that would be the first step that I would teach, and we do that. I do that with like everybody that I work with. Men, women, children can do it. And it seems pretty almost too simple to do to really have any effect, but try it out.
I can attest that it does work, because I did a Vipassana meditation retreat, and they do that body sensing, and you have you doing that for like 3 or 4 days, and that's all you do. But what, like you said, if you practice it quietly and then you can do it anytime, I find that whenever I kind of remember to do something so simple, because like you said, sometimes I'm trying to breathe deeply or trying, and sometimes it's like, no, the best place to start when I am kind of stressed is to just be with what is, no trying to change anything, and it does kind of. And
then sometimes that tension or whatever can just melt away, and sometimes not, but it's like.
But I find it does make a difference. Yeah. Okay. And was there one other thing one other tip?
To teach? Oh, yeah. So that's kind of the first.
Yeah.
Like, so that'd be it's called I can't remember what it's called. The body. It's the physical body.
Right.
And then we would do, actually before that, it's called inner resource. And the resourcing is really common in a lot of practices, but it's also something that you just create in your mind. And so again, I would teach it like in a quiet place, lying down first, and then it's just like a muscle. You strengthen it. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes. So inner resource is just creating a sanctuary or safe place in your mind. And so you can use visualization, thinking of a place, like an actual physical place that you feel really calm in. And so activating all the senses, like smells, tastes, sounds. Some people just think of a song and it takes them to that place of calm. And so it's just like another, it's a way to down-regulate the nervous system and get into that parasympathetic state when you need to. So
basically you're envisioning a safe space.
Yeah. And it can be, so when I teach it, and I would go through it, but it takes like a long time too.
Well, maybe we'll have another video on that.
I could just do just that. So I'll say like it can be imagined. So if you're thinking, because I've worked with people who have dealt with trauma or PTSD, and so when you try and say, well, think of a safe, like feeling safe, like they can't actually imagine that,
right,
or haven't experienced it. So it might be imagine where you might feel even just okay. So not totally safe, not secure, but just okay. That sense of just like, okayness. So it can be completely imagined, Or you might think, oh yeah, that's my, my cabin, or
Right.
when I'm out walking in the field, or like whatever it may be. And if you've experienced that, you just simply, and the mind and the body, so we can imagine something and our body doesn't actually know the difference
Right.
between it being real and imagined.
Right.
So when you can close your eyes and see that place where you can imagine the smells, the sounds, it's kind of tricking your body into that relaxed state.
Oh yeah, this is something I want to try.
Yeah. So it's,
Yeah.
again, practicing it like in a quiet place, but then it works really well when you're in, and I have to remember this too, when you're in a really stressed state, like, an event has happened, you're very stressed in that moment, to remember that it's like, okay, I can go to this place just by switching your mindset.
Right.
That's just really hard to remember that in those stress states, because
that's why it's good to have your partners and family members also
to remind you.
Yeah. Okay.
And just in birth, so I'll just bring it back to that. So we would definitely use that in the birth. So like when you're in labor, it's like I never try to like distract from the sensations, because it's like riding those waves, but we go to that inner resource, like that place of calm, just to maintain that level of what's the word I'm looking, just that level of calm, I guess.
Yeah.
So that we can not be in the fight or flight state, like the stress.
Yes, exactly.
Because if the body's in stress, it's shutting down other systems.
Right. So it can help to keep out of the fight or flight. Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Thank you, Roxanne. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, learn more about your services and things like that, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, the best way, email, is like the easiest.
Okay.
I have an email address, which I can give you.
Okay.
I don't have a website, so Instagram is where I'm kind of online.
Okay.
Mostly.
So we'll put that in the description.
Okay.
All right.
Email, Instagram,
Yeah, I really enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much for being here and sharing these practices, and yeah,
thanks.
Thank you. Okay, and yes, thank you for watching as well, and we will see you next